Welcome to another edition of Inspired Stories, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes, how they've overcome adversity, and explore current challenges they're facing.
Welcome to another edition of the Inspired Stories podcast, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes and be inspired by how they've overcome adversity. My name is Anthony Codesbodi, and today's guest is Michael Hauke, founder and mad scientist of Tony Boloney's and Mad Mutts. Tony Boloney's is the right place for frickin' amazing pizza, subs, and other crazy grub. They have 3 locations in New Jersey: Hoboken, Atlantic City, and Jersey City. This is not your grandpa's pizza joint. They've been tossing out tradition and serving up delicious experimental grub for over a decade. You'll find things like a taco pizza, and it's not what you think, a sandwich with a T-Rex bone in it, and a pizza with waffles and fried chicken on it. They offer cooking classes and food trucks to cater your next event. And they've been featured in more media than you can shake a pizza at, including Man vs. Food, Cooking Channel, and Live with Kelly and Ryan, as well as the Today Show. Mike opened his first Tony Boloney's in 2009 as a small deli convenience store. We'll hear how he morphed into the creative and edgy cuisine media magnet that he is today, and we'll also hear about his latest food innovation, which is just about to drop, something called Mad Mutts. And we'll see if Michael will tell us how to get to the top of the waiting list for it. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, today's episode is brought to you by my company, Add Back Benefits Agency, where we offer very specific and unique employee benefits that are both great for your team and fiscally optimized for your bottom line. One recent client was able to add over $900 per employee per year in extra cash flow by implementing one of our proprietary programs. Results vary for each company, and some organizations may not be eligible. To find out if your company qualifies, contact us today at addbackbenefitsagency.com. Now back to our guest today, the founder and mad scientist of Tony Boloney's and Mad Mutts, Mike. I appreciate you making the time to share your story today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
So take us back to the beginning. Did you always want to start a food business? Did this happen kind of accidentally? How did this come about?
So actually, I had other businesses at the time. I've always had my own business since college. I started out with Dirty Business Laundry Delivery Service in Amherst, Massachusetts. That started as like a school project for our entrepreneur club, and we created a business plan. And the premise was you have $0, you have no resources. What business can you start, and what business can you scale? And we chose the laundry delivery service. And we basically said, well, we don't have a laundromat, so how would we do laundry? We would sub it out. So we found a laundromat that would process laundry overnight and, pay them per piece or per unit or whatever. We don't have vehicles to deliver it. So how would we do that? We can't use our cars. It was literally, you have zero anything. We'll contract with a newspaper delivery service that delivers newspapers from 2 a.m. until 7:00 in the morning, and then from 8:00 we use their vehicles and pick up and deliver laundry and stuff like that. And little by little, we were able to piece together a business plan that worked, that was scalable, that we didn't need any resources for. So since then, I've always had my own businesses. I had 30 Business Laundry Delivery Service. Then we had the off-campus meal plan, OCMP. Then Box O Box, which is a college care package company. And at the time, I had businesses in New York, in Chelsea. Then we moved to Bushwick. And my father called me up and was like, hey, I want you to get into real estate like I'm into and start investing in things. And I said, okay, I'm down to try that out. And my buddy was from New Bedford, Massachusetts, good friend of mine, Dave. And he said, let's pick up a property here. It's like a 6-family. I went to the property with my father, the realtor, the owner. We did a walkthrough. Before we walked in, I saw someone get thrown out of the 3rd floor through the window.
Whoa.
Fork to the chest. Guy came out with a metal rake over the head, dragged him out. I don't know if the person died or not. And my realtor pulls out a gun. The owner is just chilling. My dad, who's from Newark, New Jersey, who was in real estate, he's just chilling. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not this is not, I can't do this. There's no way I'm going to be a landlord in general. And then years later, he was like, listen, let's buy this property in Atlantic City. It's literally, you know, inexpensive, and we're going to outfit it and rent it out to a bodega because they're building the MGM at the time. It was a massive construction project, the entire inlet of Atlantic City. And I was like, all right, like I'll go in on it with you, or we'll figure it out. Helped them outfit it, get it going. It turned out no one wanted to rent it. So we had all these construction workers that were ramping up. MGM ended up turning to being called Revel. They started construction. 5,000 construction workers. No one wanted to rent it out. We outfitted it for Bodega, Deli, and I had my buddy Nick from Brooklyn just come down and run it for like a year, selling frozen shit to construction workers. And it was fine. No big deal. We sold stuff and whatever. And then Revel went out of business. And they stopped doing construction. 5,000 construction workers are gone. China, I think, pulled their money out of the project. And basically said, I'm in New York. I'm coming down once every few weeks to check on things. And I was like, holy shit, like, what do we do? Because no one's going to rent it now. There's no construction workers.
You couldn't get somebody to rent it before when there were construction workers.
No. So it's like, what are we going to do? And I said, you know what, let me just shut it down for a little bit, start creating my own recipes. I was never a chef. I never did culinary stuff. I was always the kid late night in college. All my friends, dorms, frat houses, whatever, that I'd make like buffalo chicken ramen noodles and like pasta vazul. And I always grew up with my one grandmother who, was on the Italian side. She had rosary beads in one hand and making pasta vazul with a wooden spoon and, yelling at me and whatever, but all love. And then my other grandmother was Jewish, Russian, Polish. She'd be cooking for me, snuggling me with her moo-moo. So I always was around food, liked food, cooked and messed around with things. And I said, you know what, let me just try out my own recipes and see, where that goes. And I'm going to make what I like to eat. And I don't really care what the cuisine is, per se. And I asked my employees at the time, it's like, hey, you guys have worked at pizzerias in the past. We're going to start making our own dough. And they were like, oh, I'm not showing you my recipe. And I was like, all right, let's create our own recipe. And they were like, oh, I'm not, this is like my secret. So I'm like, okay. I was like, you're gone. I called my food suppliers. I was like, hey, listen, we're going to start making our own dough, our own sauce, our own this. And they were like, no, keep buying our frozen dough or keep buying our canned sauce. And I'm like, no, I'm going to make it. I'm like, no, we don't, So then I'm like, all right, well, how do you make like cheese? And they're like, oh, you need curd. I'm like, okay, well, how do you get curd? Oh, we could sell you curd. It's a pain in the ass. No one wants to do that. What, are you crazy? So then I'm like, all right, well, how do you make curd? They're like, no one makes curd. Like, you need milk and you have to whatever. And I was like, all right, well, sell me milk. I want to start messing around. They wouldn't. And I'm like, all right, well, everyone's gone. And I got rid of everyone, cleaned the slate, burned it down basically. And Tony Boloney's really came about. My dad was the one who really came up with the name because he was called Tony Boloney as a kid by his grandfather, who his father then called him. He then called me. I called my two sons. And it basically means naughty kid. It's like, hey, little Tony Boloney, get upstairs and wash your face. It's time for bed. And it was a thing from like way back in the day, 50s movies. You see like, the father walk in with the horn-rimmed glasses and the pipe in his mouth and the suitcase and the newspaper under his arm. He's like, hey, little Tony Boloney, just get upstairs. And it was like a naughty play on otherwise regular pizza and subs and Italian food. And I ran with it. And I said, you know what, let's just do Tony Boloney's. My favorite food's Indian food. I'm Jewish. I'm 1/8 Italian.
That's quite a combo.
Yeah, if you really want to get technical about it, my grandmother's great-grandfather's brother was like Pope Leo the 13th. So like there is some hardcore Italian heritage there, but ultimately, it's like a fun plan. Otherwise, Italian pizza food, and we get some pushback, used to anyway sometimes, like, oh, what kind of self-respecting Italian place doesn't have like veal parmesan or whatever? And I'm like, well, I don't know, we're not that Italian. And B, try this. This is my grandma's recipe. Bullshit, and I give it to them, and they have this pizza. And they're like, oh, this is delicious. And I'm like, yeah, it's tikka masala pizza. That's like Indian tikka masala coconut curry sauce with paneer cheese, sesame crust, and a green chutney. But I called it something else just to get them to eat it And they're like, "Oh, this is phenomenal." I'm like, "Yeah, you're eating Indian food." There's no way. You told me grandma's Sicilian recipe, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but like, was it good?" Like, "Oh, it was amazing." I'm like, I never had that on pizza before. I'm like, "All right, well, there you go."
So let's back up a little bit, Mike, because you did a deep dive on a brand new idea. At least it seems like that from what the part of the story that I'm hearing. And you didn't have a background in food or culinary. Like, what made you so interested, excited, passionate, confident to go down this road? I mean, you cleaned house. You're telling your supplier, "You're out of here." You're telling the people that were working for you, "You're out of here." And like, you were very strong in this direction that you wanted to go, but you didn't have any experience in any of this.
No, but I mean, my philosophy in general, and like sometimes it gets me in a little bit of trouble, but it's always like if there's a will, there's a way. But more important than that, like, you know, there's option A, B, C, D, and I'll expense the alphabet 1,000 times before I give up, and I won't. I'll just keep expensing the alphabet until I come to some sort of conclusion and or place that is going to work for everyone, myself, the business, the brand, the customer. So, I think ultimately the need was for this property not to sit vacant. It was to have it generate some kind of income. It was to maybe find a gap in the market that wasn't currently there, because ultimately in Atlantic City, there's a lot of boardwalk places. There's like, legendary pizzerias, old school bar kind of thing, sub shops that have been there for a long time, but nothing was like really moving the market or getting people excited. And, I don't want to cannibalize anybody's business. I don't want to ever go into a market and try to cannibalize people's sales or what they do. So everything I do is really genuine to, what we're creating. And I said, no one's doing this anywhere really. It's a tourist destination in general, Atlantic City. There are real people that live here and work here and do things. So let me try it out and let's see how it goes. And it ended up working, and people really liked it. A lot of casino execs start coming in, and then you get big vans that are the high rollers that are coming in on comps. And, little by little, these people just start coming into this place where at the time, it was set up for like a bodega. You had racks of like honey buns and toilet paper and random stuff, which we got rid of. We had plastic lattice literally separating the eating area from the kitchen with a couple like stools. We made it into a wall, and little by little we adapted, knowing that customers are coming in here. And then you have some like celebrities that came in and they're like, "Dude, where am I right now? Like, this place is, I mean, it's a 150-year-old building. It's so beat up. It's barely branded." And then I was like, let me rebrand it and brand it appropriately and have it stand out and make it, representative of the food we're serving and the things that I like to do and the vibe. And people come into Atlantic City and they are here from God knows where. They're from Norway. They're from Ohio. It doesn't matter. We want them to come in and feel they're getting like that experience. So the food's got to match, the aesthetics have to match to a degree, and the service has to match. And we have to, do the best we can do to highlight those things.
So for those listening who maybe aren't from the East Coast or, haven't been, like a bodega, because it's a little bit unfamiliar in certain parts of the country. It's kind of like a small corner store that's like a combination of like a little grocery convenience store as well as serving food. So that's kind of how it started out. And then quickly you realized, hey, we're onto something with the food service part of this. Let's get rid of the rest of it, rebrand it, clean it up. At what point, Mike, did you realize we're onto something, like this is actually going to work?
I mean, in creating all the different recipes and weird stuff, people really start taking to it and saying, "Oh my God, like, this is really good." At the time, a cheesesteak was a cheesesteak was a cheesesteak was a cheesesteak. Like, there's buffalo chicken cheesesteaks. It's a brick of shaved chicken packed out, and they put it on the grill and they put some maybe Frank's Red Hot sauce on it and they just smack it on, and American cheese. And to me, I'm like, well, I love a lot of different foods. I love Mexican food. I started making our own cheese queso Oaxaca, Mexican string cheese, and I made this cheesesteak that was called the Olay. It's still on the menu. It's one of our top sellers, and it is steak. Usually they take this steakum-ish thing, they put it on the grill. It could be ribeye, sirloin. They grill it up and they put some spices on it, maybe salt and pepper, and smack it on the sub. And I'm like, let me use real ribeye, like just straight up ribeye, and they shave that down. And it had a lot of cartilage in it and or fat. It just wasn't so like appealing. So like I know why they use steakums, or they use, this like shaved chip steak, I think they call it. Well, why don't I take ribeye and let me marinate it in almost like they do ceviche, but I'll do it in like mezcal. I'll do it. I'll cook it first. I'll marinate it in mezcal with some spices, some lime, whatever, and then let me put it back and shave it up. And it ended up being really soft, really, held its fiber, but it was not as like, gritty. And I came up with something called the Olay, and we started making it. I made this homemade Chipotle-ish house crema sauce, homemade queso Oaxaca, string cheese, and I entered the Food Network Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives Guy Fieri cheesesteak battle, where at the time it was all like the big guys that were competing in it from Philly, all these like legendary places, and it was in Atlantic City at their Food and Wine Festival. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to enter the cheesesteak Olay. Everyone's doing Philly cheesesteaks. They're very proud of those things. And we're just not that place. So I'm going to bring to the table what we bring to the table. Anyway, we did it. Everyone's like, you're out of your mind. Like, everything's classic this, classic that. And by the way, I love a classic cheesesteak. Like, anyone says to me, oh, who has a better like Philly cheesesteak, you or, Pat's or Gino's or Tony Luke's or whatever. And I'm like, they do. Like, Pat's invented the cheesesteak. So you may not like it or not, but like, that's what a Philly cheesesteak is. So like, that's not, to me, it's not even an argument. They make a Philly cheesesteak. I don't.
You do something different.
Right. So it is what it is, So I brought it to the competition and I ended up winning. I beat all those guys out. And that was like 2010, I think. And people then started noticing, like, wait, what are they doing over there? What are they doing on their subs, or what are they doing on their pizza, or whatever it is? And I started really diving into that, because ultimately, like, we can build your own sub. You can make a sub with steak and sauce and cheese, and we have that on our menu. You could add potato chips to your sub, and like, you can make your own crazy concoction. But ultimately, we have subs that we really, put a lot of work, time, and effort into, that are way different off the grid. And we hope you enjoy it. So when you come to the shop and you have one of our subs, they're our own creations. We make it ourselves. We make our own chimichurri. We do different stuff. And it really took off, and people started coming in the shop. And instead of them saying, let me get a cheesesteak with American cheese and, fried onions, I want them fried hard, we listen, and we're like, hold on. First, what's your name? Second, for a year to go. Third of all, have you looked at the menu? And most times it's no. I just came in here and I heard about you guys, and I want to see your cheesesteak stacks up against the rest. And we tell them, if you want a Philly cheesesteak, there's a million places you can go with.
You don't want a Philly cheesesteak if you've come here. You want
is or whatever it is. I mean, if you want something simple,
you want the Olay.
It's our Cooper Sharp smoked cheese whiz that we make in house. Fried long hots, caramelized onion, Sicilian chili spread that we harvest in Sicily ourselves, instead of like wet hot, pickled peppers. Try that. If you like a Philly cheesesteak, this would be like the closest thing to maybe that. And they get it and they love it. Oh my God, this is amazing. It's one of those things where we'll do it for you. That's just not really our shtick,
So how do these ideas come to you, Mike? Do you have like a process where you're like, okay, we're starting with the Philly cheesesteak. How can we make it creative? Let's pull from Indian flavors. No. You just sort of sitting there and like crazy thoughts pop into your head?
Yeah. And I like something. I like to eat something. I'm interested in something. I have had an idea rolling in my brain about something that I would like to eat or make, or a customer take on it. And a lot of times it's what will a customer be okay with and what will they not be okay with? So, there's always like that fine line where you can't push it too far because it's either a price issue or it's a menu item that is just really like wacky. For example, everyone loves chicken fried steak. You wouldn't know it because most people don't eat chicken fried steak unless they're in the part of the country where they make that, in the South or whatever. People don't know Alabama white sauce, but when they have it, they love it. So, one pizza we put on the menu, I think it was called at the time Bestiality, but now it's a different pizza. And it was Rocky Mountain fried oysters, which are bull testicles, a Alabama white sauce, smoked homemade mozzarella, and it was delicious. But like knowing that people are you're selling them something and they're eating testicles, like there's a very like small niche of the population that will actually eat that pizza versus us just having fun and doing what we're doing. And that eventually turns into something else because you can't put that on the pizza. And then I put chicken fried steak in the sub. I call it the Rodeo Clown. And it's smoked grits, homemade smoked mozzarella, Alabama white sauce, chicken fried steak, which is basically, there's no chicken. It's a piece of hanger steak pounded out that's battered and fried. And people love it, but people also don't really know what chicken fried steak is. They think it's chicken. So like there's this fine line between like what you can actually put out there that people will adopt versus a great idea that actually tastes delicious. And then it's really up to the staff to be able to shove it down their throats in some sort of sense, or find that medium marketing angle and word it properly or market it properly so people would actually adhere to it. And some things just don't work out. And some things, as amazing as the sub or pizza is, people just don't get. And there's other things that they really do get that you have to dumb down to such a degree because they are so familiar with a certain product. They're so familiar with a flavor. So there's a fine balance of it. And for me, I always want to go off the rails. I want to fully go off the rails and have to tame myself down sometimes and say, you know what? I don't think, we could put this on a pizza or a sub or there's just no way to get around this. And if I'm going to do it, it's just going to be for like my own enjoyment.
I was going to say, do you ever just put something on the menu with a strong suspicion that people won't adopt it, but you just enjoy that shock factor? I mean, like the Rocky Mountain oyster pizza. Did you think that people were going to adopt that, or you were just like, I'm just going to have some fun here?
I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what it was. Like another pizza called the Jerk Oof. So it's a beef jerky pizza. My buddy James Jerky down in South Jersey, we used his jerky on it, and it's called the Jerk Oof. Like oof, like wow, like you eat something, and oof, that's a lot. And it was smoked ranch. Beef jerky. Like to me, jerky is like the new pepperoni. It's so good on a pizza, and it worked really, 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 really well in the Atlantic City store in the summertime. It didn't work so well in Hoboken, Jersey City, just because of I think the high transactional value of what we do in slices there, and it just didn't. It didn't like translate. Where in Atlantic City, people heard about it, they knew about it, they came in for it, they were excited about it. And they still ask for it every single day. Like, can I get, jerky on, as a topping on a pizza? So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a marketing thing. Sometimes it's the right time, right place, luck, like a lot of things,
Tell us about the taco pizza. When I first heard that you had a taco pizza, I'm like, oh, it's got, probably some, Mexican flavors. It's, some Mexican sauce. It's,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe they crumbled up some, tortilla chips and put it on top of it. Right. But when you see this thing, it's out of this world. Can you describe it for us?
Pizza basically came about because we're in Hoboken. I was definitely a little bored that day. We were busy going through the motions. I just having like one of those days you just get a little bored. And these kids came in and they were all stoned. And they're like, yo, what's up? It's Taco Tuesday. And can I get some tacos? And I'm like, dude, it's Tony Boloney. He's like, we don't make tacos, pizzas, subs, whatever. And like, I know, bro, but it's Taco Tuesday. And I was like, you know what? I was these kids at one point, skateboarding around. I got you. I went back in the kitchen. Lena was like, yo, can you make up some tacos? they're always making tacos for themselves. We got maseca, which is the corn flour. And she's like, how many do you want? I'm like, I don't know. Make me up like 3 orders, like nine tacos. I don't know, whatever. Anything on them? Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Any subs, just make it into tacos. And they were loving it. They came out like, oh, yo, thank you so much. You're the best, whatever. And then I came back in the kitchen. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And I just had something in my brain. I'm like, you know what? I got to like, I'm like getting like cagey. I get cagey a little times, sometimes. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. Lena, make me up like 24 tacos. And she's like, of what? And I told her what to make. I made the pizza. I took our mole sauce and my grandmother's babushka sauce, which we use for the Passover brisket, and I mixed it up and I made my own like sauce with it. Took a case of Oaxaca string cheese, put that in the pie, put it in the oven, popped it out, assembled all the tacos, made some guacamole, and I kept telling the guys, yo, don't leave, I'll be right out. And I brought this pizza out to them, and they bugged out. They were like caught the Holy Ghost, like, holy shit, like I want you to adopt me as my dad. It was hilarious, but they were loving it. And I was like, but listen, do me a favor, don't tell anybody about this, because ultimately, like, my staff's gonna kill me if I actually try to like sell this and make this on the menu. It's just a lot, right? The next day, literally, yo, I heard about the taco pizza. Can I go to this place? And like one after the other. So now I'm like, all right. AC at the time was a little slow. It's like off season. So I called up our manager there, and I was like, listen, Fernando, he's still with us to this day. He actually heads up Mad Mutt's production. And I said, listen, I want to start making tacos, shells, tortillas. And he said, well, you can buy them. There's factories out there. I was like, no, I know, but like I want to make them. So we started making like, I don't know, 2,000 tacos a day in Atlantic City in between what's going on. We had a Mercedes Sprinter truck, refrigerated truck. We'd bring them up to Hoboken, at the time. We were selling like, I think 300 taco pizzas a day, only on Tuesdays. Wow. It was line out of the door crazy. I mean, every single show we were on, the Horny Yards, I was offered to be flown to Dubai to make taco pizza for someone. We brought pizza to Teterboro Airport to go to the Bahamas. I think it was Michael Jordan. I mean, from what I understand, no, they wouldn't tell us who it was for. A lot of stuff like that. And it took off. And then we started offering it every day because people would come in, and I'll never forget, it was like a Wednesday, and these two guys come in, shops packed, and they're like, yo, I want the taco pizza. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, it's only Tuesdays. And they're like, dude, we just drove from Denver. And I was like, get out of here. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, we literally just drove from Denver, and like and I'm like, I got to make it for him, we made it for him. And then, so we started saying, we'll offer it every single day. We have to just figure out how to do it and do it properly and do it, in some kind of scale. And from there it took off. And
so for people who are listening to the audio version, I brought up some images on screen. Find your way to a video version, Spotify, on our website, YouTube. So there's a semi-traditional pizza crust underneath, but then there are soft taco shells arranged around the edges, and each of those taco shells is filled with a different kind of taco. And then in the middle, there's a giant portion of guacamole. And so, I mean, just...
Yeah, you got homemade crema, carne asada is one taco, beer braised, pulled chicken's another taco with some pickle jalapeno crema. We have our mezcal marinated ribeye steak with chipotle. Underneath is this base of like a mole-ish sauce, queso Oaxaca. The crust is actually a maseca cornmeal dough and crust. So the whole thing through and through, and they're all corn tacos pressed. Through and through, it's its own animal, and it is a beast to make. It's not this thing that you just throw together. A lot of people think that it's just like things on things on things in general, and it's like,
no, this looks like it would be incredibly time consuming, and I mean, you've got a lot of really high quality ingredients, lots of meat in here, lots of avocados for the guacamole. The cheeses, these are not inexpensive. I have to imagine. I mean, what does one of these pizzas go for typically?
that pizza right there is $100,
Yeah.
and people
Okay.
think
That's
you're taking it. Oh, you guys are killing it. And it's like,
no, that actually sounds pretty reasonable to me.
well, and like people walk in the shop and the slice is $15. There's tacos on it. $15 for a slice? When you guys crazy? And it's like, if you went to any taqueria and got 3 carne asada tacos, forget brisket, forget whatever, 3 chicken tacos, what would it cost for them? I don't know, $8 to $12 minimum. Yeah, right. So call it $10. If you got a cheese quesadilla, how much would that cost? $6, $8. Yeah. If you got a side order of guacamole, what would that cost? I don't know, $5, $6. Right. So you're getting every one of those things in a slice of pizza that is absolutely delicious that you'll probably not be able to finish. And then they get it. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So, yeah, for those listening, if you're in the New Jersey area, I recommend you go and get one of these before Mike wisens up and jacks up the price, because it sounds like the deal of the century. You get a lot of great press, Mike. Like, I'm looking at your website. Like, I mean, every food show you can think of, a lot of the big morning shows. How did you get to be so good at this? Do you just have the world's best PR agent, or what?
No, I do it all myself in house. It's. I think people think it's just, you do things and people notice and you get on, TV shows or whatever it is. But like a lot of it is, relationships that you form over time. A lot of it's you actually producing the thing that you say you're going to make. A lot of times for Instagram, people just make crazy things and hope that like someone catches on to it. And the next thing you know, it takes off and then there's like a need for it. So then you start making it more. And like that in business is always something you test things out with and you mess around with. But like for this, like if we're making the Wagwan, to give an example, or the Swine Fighter, these are pizzas that really are their own things to facilitate. They're not easy to manufacture. There's a lot of prep. There's a lot of recipe. There's a lot of coordination behind it. And like when the Drew Barrymore show calls and says, we want to feature this, you can't just like do it for the show and then not have it for the customer. No. Because ultimately that wouldn't be helpful to the business, but it wouldn't be helpful to the show either, because they're letting their credibility or whatever, whether they need content or not, it doesn't really matter. And you got to be set up for it. So for us, it's like to get to the place, and over the years, like I've been way better at this, but in the beginning, you would do things that you maybe weren't fully set up for. But running a business and having 50 to 100 employees at any given time, there's a lot of spinning plates. There's a lot of things in motion, and everyone's got to be on the same page. So if we're saying that we're doing this thing, and then the Drew Barrymore show has it on national television, and then people want to buy it, you got to be ready for that. You got to be set up for it, and you can't be this like cross your fingers and like hope it works out. You got to be ready in some way, shape, or form. You can run out of things, which we often do because we're making everything, but it's a lot of time, coordination, relationship building, being consistent, and showing up when you say you're going to show up.
So you had the one store location, the first one that started out as a bodega. Quickly realized where the money was coming from and where you should put the attention. Did a rebrand. At what point did you decide this is going so well, we need to open up a second and then a third location?
I mean, I won Live with Kelly's nationwide food truck competition for the cheesesteak ole also. So like Chef Jean George and Josh Capone, who at the time I used to love his restaurants. I still do, but he had some, in New York City, very well respected chefs in general and good people. And I won their nationwide food truck competition. Started with like thousands of trucks and then whittled down to this and that. And I said on the show, they said, well, what do you want to do next? And I was like, I'm going to open up in Hoboken. That was kind of what I had in my brain. And my wife and I were talking about it. And so we ended up starting looking for leases shortly before then, maybe a little bit after that. And we opened up in Hoboken shortly after that. And then we were in Hoboken. and we got approached by some gentlemen that came in the shop that were running the food hospitality for the Prudential Center. It was Legends at the time. And we got into Legends. We had like two kiosks in the Prudential Center for like hockey games. And little by little, we just started building on brand, building on, our menu, building on the business, and little by little. So, in Atlantic City, we started with that shop. Then I got a food truck because people were scared to come to Atlantic City. And I was like, what are you scared of? Like, we wanted to have a birthday party. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a food truck and I'm going to drive to your house and I'm going to serve Tony Boloney's menu. So we had a food truck, and then I got approached to do farmers markets and sell fresh mozzarella. So I started making manufacturing fresh mozzarella, which is called Tony's Farm Table, which is a separate business that we harvest our own olive oil in Sicily. We manufacture mozzarella. We do focaccia, flatbreads, sfincione, and we started doing farmers markets. And then we opened in Hoboken, and then we opened in Prudential Center. And then from there, we started, shipping out DTC to customers because people in Ohio and California, whatever, like, we want Tony Boloney's too. And I'm like, well, how fast can I open up shops? Like, let me just start shipping stuff. And then we opened up in Jersey City. We had a store in Long Branch, which is a very seasonal market on the boardwalk that we since closed. And then and we just started, pushing forward. And
what kind of food are you shipping nationwide? Like, can I get one of these taco pizzas sent to me? Is that travel?
Yeah, there's a wait list right now for it on Goldbelly. But our taco pizza, our swine fighter, the Bologna Rex, we ship it nationwide. I mean, we started doing it right before COVID. COVID had started picking up, and we were doing 2,000 packages a week, shipped nationwide, and we picked that back up, I think, next week on Goldbelly. And we ship pizzas, and you could choose,
And so are they shipped like cooled or frozen? Are they coming hot? Like,
frozen.
They're all frozen.
Our packaging has gel packs, ice,
okay,
liner, great unboxing experience. We do pizza making kits. We ship nationwide. We teach virtual classes. So we have a lot of corporate customers that we ship worldwide. We ship everywhere, by the way. So we'll have a customer that is in, let's just say, cybersecurity. They have a team all over the world. Buenos Aires, Mexico City, London, and we'll ship pizza making kits everywhere. Then we hop online, and it's like, hey, what's up, everyone? We have a studio upstairs in Atlantic City where we film all the classes, and we teach pizza making classes and mozzarella and burrata making classes. And we do this for corporate, where, corporation, we white label their kits, and in the kit that is branded for their company, all the packaging, a pizza cutter, an apron, whatever, and we ship this out, worldwide, and do these classes. So we, that's kind of part of DTC.
And so these classes, the online virtual classes, did that come about during COVID?
That was basically us saying, holy shit, what are we going to do? We don't even know like how to operate a restaurant right now. Like, you have to shift everything around. It was the massive upheaval. And I went online on Instagram one day, and I was like, hey, whoever wants to do a class on Sunday, I'll teach it from my house. Come pick up a pizza making kit from any Tony Boloney's location and go on Instagram Live at like 6 o'clock. And I did it. And like thousands of people bought the kits and went online.
Thousands of people came locally to buy kits?
Yeah. The next week we said, we can deliver them to your door. People were like, well, I'm in like Montclair, New Jersey. I'm in whatever. We said, you know what? I bought some software that was a truck routing mapping software, and sign up, pay for your kits. We put it in the software. It calculated a route. I had a guy go around the whole entire state of New Jersey delivering kits literally to your door. And we did that. The next week we had a couple more thousand people. And then we started getting funny with it. And I was like, you know what? Next week we're going to do like a Peaky Blinders theme class. And I would dress up like, you can Google it on YouTube, Tony Boloney's calzone class. We did meatball making class. We did all different kind of classes. And we made it fun for kids. So everyone throughout Hoboken, Jersey City, Atlantic City, or Jersey in general would log onto these classes, and we would have a themed kit. I dressed up like Bad Boy Brat, crazy wig. I was the Tire King. I fake tattoos on me with a mullet and bangs. I dressed up like him. I talked like him the entire time. I got my tire cubs, and we did these classes, and then we started shipping. So I was like, this is it's not sustainable for us to drive all over the state with these kits. So we figured out DTC. We linked up with Goldbelly.
DTC,
and,
direct to consumer.
Yep. Direct to consumer, yep. And we started shipping these kits, nationwide, and people were logging into these classes that we were doing for a good maybe 2 months. And then corporations started getting involved and saying, hey, listen, we want to do this for our team building. We want to do this for our company. And we started white labeling them. We've done a lot of TV shows like Sci-Fi Network, Alien TV show. We got on with Alex and their whole entire crew. And we had glow-in-the-dark dough for the class, along with a fully branded
What do you put in the dough to make it glow in the dark?
Some secret alien.
Okay.
Stuff.
All right. Don't tell us.
But
will it make me glow in the dark? That's what I want to know. Am I going to be radioactive? Okay.
Totally,
so it's safe to eat. All right.
So we do a lot of stuff like that. We do a lot of corporations where we'll manufacture, kits for them. Some are constant. We do a lot of classes with them on an ongoing basis where, at least once a month, once a quarter, we are facilitating them. They have their own little storage locker in our shipping warehouse, and we basically drop ship for them these kits that we manufacture. Scott's Pizza Tours, he was doing it for a while. We manufactured all Scott's pizza making kits for all of his customers, fully branded for him during COVID and slightly afterwards. So we started doing that, and then we operate the stores, and we're always keeping busy with that stuff.
Tell me about the food truck experience. Do you park these trucks in busy areas, or are these just like rent for your event kind of a thing?
Rent for your event. We have a private party, come to our house, 2 hours, Tony Boloney's experience, and we're out. I've never done the street pull up. I've never done the street hustling business. There's a lot of mercantile things involved, especially in Atlantic City. There's permitting involved. It's a parking the truck and space, and it's just one of those things where you're really just crossing your fingers and saying hope it doesn't rain, hope it doesn't snow, hope it's busy. Our truck, keeps busy enough where we just bring it out for private parties.
How far will you go with the truck? Where can people get it?
I mean, we've had our truck freighted to Chicago before for an event. So if they're willing to pay for it,
you'll do it.
Doesn't matter.
All right. So tell me about Mad Mutts. What is this?
So we started manufacturing mozzarella in 2010 in Atlantic City. And I started taking milk and making curd. You coagulate the milk. I'm in Sicily at my buddy's place, and I'm like, well, how do they make mozzarella here? And basically they kill a calf, take its stomach out, take the bacteria out called rennet, put it in the milk, boil it, coagulate it, and it separates out. It's like if you had milk in your refrigerator for 3 months, what would happen? It would separate into curds. Well, they do it quickly to then be able to re-stretch it, which is called pasta filata, or stretched curd. So I came back and I was like, that's kind of gross. I can't imagine that's how people do it. A lot of cheese on the market in general is not vegetarian. People don't know that. So if you're vegetarian, most times the cheese that you're eating is not. They use an animal rennet. So for me, I want to use a vegetable rennet, started researching this kind of stuff, boiling the milk, coagulating it, making curd, making mozzarella, selling it at farmers markets, selling it in our restaurants. And then I was like, well, how come no one has truffle mozzarella? And it's really difficult to take milk, flavor that milk in some way, shape, or form, make truffle curd, stretch the curd. You're talking about pH levels, fat, the structure of the cheese, which is the buttermilk solid versus the buttermilk fat. It's the exoskeleton. There's so much into it that I learned with trial and error over the course of God knows how many years. And I started making flavored mozzarella and perfected that. Spicy mozzarella, truffle, chimichurri, whatever. And then I started saying, well, why isn't there no mozzarella sticks with fresh mozzarella? And the truth is, it's typically, fresh mozzarella is too moist to fry. It just explodes, which is the reason why people use string cheese or blocks of cheese. They cut them down, they roll them out, and they do whatever. And I was like, well, why don't I really try to perfect this? Because on my menu, I think our customers would really appreciate my flavored mozzarella in the form of mozzarella sticks. So I started manufacturing them. And we have a whole mozzarella laboratory in Atlantic City. It used to be called Tony Boloney's Mozzarella Laboratory. And we're making, in the summertime, thousands of pounds of cheese and all these different things. And then we start putting them on our menu. They're really popular. one of our top category sellers, truffle mozzarella sticks. It's truffle mozzarella plus truffle batter, and the outside's a homemade panko truffle crust. We use real truffles from Italy, Urbani truffles, which is like the largest. They are like the name in truffles worldwide. If you look them up, Urbani. So we started working with buying Urbani's real truffles and going through that process. And then it came to a point where we started getting hit up by a lot of restaurants, food service providers, grocery stores. We want to carry your mozzarella. We want to carry your mozzarella sticks. And I was like, well, first of all, a couple problems. One, I'm not really set up, licensed to like sell to you in that scale, but that can be overcome. I can figure that out. I have a 2,000 square foot manufacturing facility, so like we can figure that out. And the second thing is, how do I produce these things at scale? And I spent really the last few years perfecting that process to be able to get it to the point that we can produce at scale. We can produce 60,000 sticks a day, fresh mozzarella.
Wow.
You're talking about clean, honest product. We get it from the milk from real farms. And I called up my friend Michael, who owns a real estate investment company. He's got his hands in a lot of things, but he's a super well-oiled machine. He's got a couple mature companies. And I said to him, listen, I'm getting hit up from everyone from ShopRite and Driscoll Foods and Performance Food Group and Restaurant Depot. And like, I can do it. I'll get it done. And I said, but I love a partner that, really can help me facilitate this, whether it's on the bookkeeping side, the AR side, the compliance side. I know how to make really good product, interesting, fun, honest, but this is a little bit different of an animal, and I got him involved. And since then we've been able to not only, have the idea of getting it to scale, but we actually built this factory out and tweak things and add it onto things so that we can actually hold over 1 million sticks in inventory, produce 60,000 sticks a day. We just got into Restaurant Depot. They just did a second reorder of our product that's down here in Egg Harbor Township, which is super exciting. Great partner of ours, by the way. We're getting at the ShopRite in the next few weeks with our retail packs. And we're starting DTC probably early next week, where we already have a waiting list. I think it's over like 9,000 people right now that are waiting to order and us to go live with a direct to consumer. So between these things, I was able to, find a great partner in Michael Burns. He's on the website. It's kind of funny. Really put all that hard work, heavy assets, and, investment to good use. And instead of just making it for Tony Boloney's and being a top category seller, now we have a lot of restaurants in the local South Jersey area, or over the years, I'm sending out packages to Canada. Literally, people, can I get the hottie stick? Can I get, and I'm packing it up. I'm sending it to them. They're like, I don't care. I'll pay for the shipping. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of packages. This is a little bit more hub and spoke, and we're able to really get it out to the masses and scale and get it out to those food service providers. We're working with Seashore down in the South Jersey area that feeds a lot of the restaurants, LBI to Cape May, Restaurant Depot, Driscoll Foods, Performance Food Group, ShopRite and retail. You can make them at home, at your convenience. The unicorn mozzarella sticks, and so it's exciting.
If I have these cheese sticks shipped to me, how am I prepping them? How am I heating them up, getting them ready?
So on the website, once you select your flavor of stick, there is going to be on your box a QR code, but more importantly, on the website, click on like the cacio e pepe, and if you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be instructions on there. On
Air
what
fryer,
to do.
deep fryer, oven.
Yep. So we always recommend deep fry or pan fry. 100%. These are mozzarella sticks. Mozzarella sticks are literally like such an indulgent, awesome food, and they come out the best. It's like any food in the air fryer. Like, you can't really expect it to be as good as like even French fries. Like, it just doesn't do that. But anyway, they are set up to be in the air fryer or oven. We recommend pan fry or deep fry. And we give you the instructions. Along with that, on those little drop-down tabs, there's going to be a video, and you'll see me in video form and stick skew form, explaining how these sticks operate and what to do with them and how you can do them. Plus, we got a lot of fun little competitions that go along with the box that are fun unboxing stuff, Instagram, posting videos and little competitions.
So again, for those not watching a video version of it, recommend that you check out their website. Mad Mutz is spelled MADMUTZ.com, madmutz.com. And there's currently I'm showing a picture on here that I just think is the greatest picture. There's 5 different cheese sticks that are kind of cut in half, but this long, gooey, delicious looking stringy cheese stretching from end to end. But the really fascinating thing is the different colors of the breading and then the different colors of the cheeses inside. We've got red cheese and black cheese and red coating and black coating. And so it's
all natural, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no artificial colors. We don't use red numbered dye and 40 dye and this and that. It's all natural. So our truffle mozzarella sticks were on the left. Those are real black and white truffles from Italy. And there's a yellow hue on the outside of the stick. It's a panko we make. And the cheese actually has a little bit of black and yellow speckle to it. The cacio e pepe sticks are black pepper and pecorino. They're slightly different color. The one in the middle is the wiri wiri, which is a Jamaican beef patty, golden flaky crust. So it's like a yellow kind of curry crust. And the inside is a Guyanan wiri wiri pepper, fresh mozzarella. That color comes from the pepper. It has nothing to do with any kind of coloring. Those are the hottie. They're if you want to call them we can't legally say flaming hot Cheeto, but we make our own style of Cheeto. And it's almost like a savory, spicy, dry aged fresh mozzarella on the inside and a snack Cheeto outside. The one in the end is called the Lucifer. It's 2.9 million Scoville unit, black Carolina Reaper, Italian Scorpion, Indian Blue Pepper, 10 different peppers in there with a Sicilian charcoal crust. It is ridiculously spicy, disturbing to a point, but it has milk, so it kind of cuts out a lot of that. You can still eat it, but it's semi-painful in general. They're a lot of fun, and they're a top seller of ours. And it's kind of a little bit of a mind fuck to eat them too, which is fun. A lot of customers eat them and they don't know what to expect, and they're black cheese. I said, listen, close your eyes and just eat it. And they're like, oh my God, it's disturbingly spicy. If you can get over the look of the black cheese, you're good.
So as we promised in the intro, here's how you can get on the wait list, madmutz.com/contact. There's a place to join the wait list there. And when did you say it's going to drop, Mike?
I think Monday.
Oh, okay.
Next Monday.
So by the time this episode comes out, you guys will have been rolling in this for a few weeks now. So that's exciting. Let me shift gears on you. Mike, we've talked a lot about the successes along the way, which have been a lot of fun, and look forward to following more of those. But I'm kind of curious to hear maybe about a particular challenge that you've overcome, personal or professional, what that was like, and some of the lessons that you learned coming through it.
Yeah, there's a will, there's a way, and, A, B, C, E, expense in the alphabet. But there's also sometimes a cost to that because, nothing's guaranteed, and there's nothing that is, so calculated that you can anticipate COVID or you can anticipate, unforeseen events. So, that's one of the things that, to me, being on the creative type side and really enjoying living in that world, there's also the real unit economic side or business side that you need to make sure that you're living up to your end of the bargain and you're paying your bills and you're paying your employees and you're able to make money out of these things that you're selling. And sometimes there's businesses with massive years of burn, like an Amazon, I guess, or, those business models are different than what I deal with on a daily basis. So, to me, I've always be conscious of cash flow versus, really investment and, leverage and what I can and can't do. And, over the years, there's some things that I've had to just put on the back burner or not fully pursue because, it may not work out, or it may be too much of a risk for me to do. I mean, there are certain stores like our Long Branch store that we opened up, and I had a different partner at the time that was in the nightclub business, and he ended up living down towards Long Branch, and he was familiar with the market, and he thought it would be a great place to open up. Well, for 2.5 months out of the year, it's really busy. Mm-hmm. For the rest of the year, it is flat. On top of that, CAM fees or HOA fees, that were at $2,000 elevated to $6,000 within 4 years because they were renovating the boardwalk, and who knows? I don't know. And to me, I can't anticipate that. I think it's going to be a good market. I can control my labor in the summer, and I can keep it stable at 28%. I can control my food cost, but ultimately, how much can you do in those period of time, and how much are you going to eat it or float the rest of the year? And unfortunately, I took an L there. You can call it a successful store if you put it on paper and looked at the numbers, I guess. But ultimately, I had to make a decision to close that store and take a loss, because I just wasn't willing to continue to invest in this 2 month out of the year market. I had to stay open. You can't close your doors. It's like a mall kind of thing. It was a hard lesson for me to learn, because to me, I always think I could figure it out either way, any way, and I could make it happen. And ultimately, you realize it's just not worth sometimes making it happen.
Sometimes the best way to move forward is to take a step back first.
Yeah, so that
was hard to do.
Yeah, sometimes hard to do. Same thing with our Margate store. Margate store, we opened up in summer 2023. That store was a last minute kind of thing. We opened that up, and we had a great summer. If you know the restaurant business, you start off with inventory and training and labor. You don't really ever see those dollars until you either liquidate, close, or you float throughout the course of how many years you're in business. And then, 7 months-ish later, they decided to do some construction in the building that was going to be for 3 days. Then it was 3 weeks. Then it was 3 months. Oh. And, that's another thing that you don't anticipate that. You don't think that the landlord is going to knock down your building and you're going to be out of business. And you really run the numbers and you're like, wait a second. Oh, my God. It was $80,000 just in labor, startup food cost, and waste at the end that you can't recoup. Plus. And that was another really good lesson for me to learn. What I could have done different, I don't know. I don't think there was anything I could have done different other than
sometimes life just throws you curveballs. And
yeah. So between those things, you learn and you figure it out, and you try to take corrective action and not make those mistakes again.
Yeah, it's not how many times you get knocked down, right, Mike? It's how many times you get back up, dust yourself off, and take another swing.
Yep.
You guys have obviously been super focused on getting Mad Mutts off the ground, but are there any thoughts to open more physical store locations in the future?
Yeah, you know what? I'm always approached a lot of times by franchise companies and that sort of thing, which I've gone down that road before and I've looked into extensively. Ultimately, it is a huge lift, and unless you have a company or partner that you're working with that does this, and that's all they do, and they're the vested party behind it, and they, get involved on that level. For me, that lift right now is just not something we're focused on. So, we get hundreds of requests every single week to open up locations, to franchise, to partner up, licensing and branding deals to a certain extent in food halls, and we're always exploring them. We're always open to talk to everyone about it. But for right now, we're kind of exploring options of what we can handle and what would make the most sense. It wouldn't be the craziest heavy lift like me going literally and opening up locations. And we're working on some things. So there are some things in the works on the Tony Boloney side, but just not
Mike doing the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I love to do, by the way. Yeah. I'm down for it. I love it. It's like part of my my vernacular at this point. Although, it's not that scalable, and for me to do it. So we're always looking for different deals or getting approached by different
the right partnership. Yeah, to help move it forward.
That's the main thing.
What's the labor market like where you are, Mike? Is it still pretty tight?
Yeah, I mean, we've had the same people on board for many years. So, Atlantic City shop, we have some employees that have been there for 13 years.
Wow.
We were open for 15 years. The first 2 years were weird, the bodega and this and that. So we're lucky in that sense. We've taken, some of those employees have transitioned over to Mad Mud side that have been with me for those 13 years and are now heading up production and compliance, which is super exciting. It's a new role for a lot of these people, but it's a clean slate of like a new process of what we're doing. And it's not serving a customer food. It literally is a different kind of focus, but it's still an exciting, brain power worthy exercise that they're really enjoying. So that's amazing. Hoboken, same crew, really has been there for 10 years. Jersey City, same crew for 6 years. So we don't have as much fluctuation and turnover as maybe other places. We keep it really small. We have a tight little group in each of the stores that all really communicate with each other and talk to each other. And in the summertime, it's really a lot of seasonal employees. So we ballooned from 40-ish employees to maybe over 100 employees in the summertime, between the farmers markets, the food trucks, special events. The Atlantic City shop is crazy in the summer. And, we always seem to figure it out or get by. So I can't say it's rough or it's tough or it's we've always been able to get the right people on board, and we've learned that if usually they're not the right person from like the get, we gotta move on.
But it seems like it would be a pretty fun place to work. I mean, you guys are taking a very creative approach to things. You've got kind of an irreverent sense to you. It's not like super buttoned up. I mean, business is business. You got to take care of things. But my perception from the outside looking in is that this would be a place that people would enjoy coming to work to.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing is on the kitchen side, a lot of the kitchen staff over the years that have come in seasonally and or just for a job, they're really well versed in the normal pizzeria or diner or sub shop. And for us, we don't do that. So like there are fundamentals like hygiene and compliance and stuff that is standard everywhere, like first in, first out, and checking temperatures or hot holding temperatures. Like all that stuff is the same. Nothing changes. On sanitizing a slicing machine, like in washing dishes, like none of that changes. Although the way we do things, the way we build our sandwiches and or pizza, the way we manufacture our ingredients and treat them, that is different. So a lot of times that's something that some employees have a hard time getting into that mode because they're like, I got to make a taco pizza. Like I just want to make cheese pizza and like go home. And it's like, we're not that place. I mean, for me, I don't want to be in a robotic state in any sense at any time. So for me, I don't want to be that robot that does the same thing over and over again. I want to mix it up sometimes. I want to have fun with it. I want to be able to put a spin on it. You do weed out a lot of, people that otherwise just can't fit that mold. And they're so used to doing that same thing. And for a dishwasher, that's okay. For a pizza maker, for us, it's not. Same thing with counter, employees. Like they have to have a little personality. They have to be able to articulate the product. They can't just take an order like a robot. That's not what works in our ecoverse. So sometimes, if we're seasonal and we're short staffed, luckily we have some like tech to rely on, and we have self-ordering kiosks. So like sometimes those things are needed because we just don't have the right staff or enough of the staff to be able to articulate those things.
Yeah.
So,
Mike, I just have one more question for you, but before I ask it, I want to do two things. For everyone listening today, if you like today's content, please hit the like, share, or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. I also want to let people know the best way to get in touch with you. Mike, what would that be?
And the best way to get in touch, Mike at TonyBoloney.com or Mike at MadMutts.com. You can hit me anytime. Doesn't matter what it's for.
Pretty open and receptive.
Oh yeah, people. I mean, after my pizza making class, I tell everyone, I talk about the most disgusting ingredient I ever had on pizza, which is the Icelandic fermented shark. And I tell people, listen, if you're ever in Iceland, you want me to hook you up with the people that I went to do, to get the shark from, I'll hook it up. If you're ever around the world, I have pizza friends everywhere, or you're at home making pizza, I'm more than happy to help you if I can.
That's great. Last question for you, Mike. What do you see being the big changes coming to your industry in the next couple of years?
I mean, AI for sure on a number of levels, on the marketing level, on the customer acquisition level, on the quant level, which excites me the most. I love numbers and I love unit economics. So, on the quant side of things, I wish I had a little more time to spend on that because, I run my own numbers. I run my own formulas. I have macro spreadsheets. Like, I go crazy with that stuff. But ultimately, there are certain things that like I wouldn't even know what to look for, or trends that I wouldn't even see. And I think that's where probably some form of AI would be extremely helpful in understanding, customers a little better, or their propensities, or ordering habits, or manufacturing practices and stuff like that. So that's change-wise, I think that's probably part of it. And then the other piece of it, I feel like, we've done, a great job for a long time, vegetarian, vegan, like it seems to also be continually on the rise. So for us, I was vegetarian for 16 years, vegan for 5 of them. Like I'm super sensitive to those things. I understand, the multitude of reasons why people are those things and want to be vegetarian or vegan or not. So I get it. And it seems to be, a focus of ours year after year where people really do want more and better options for those things.
And you guys are going to continue to offer those.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I want to be the first one to thank you for sharing both your time and your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having me on. And listen, anything else comes up, any questions you have, anybody out there listening wants to get in touch with me, reach out to me at any time. Doesn't matter what it is. And I will do my best to get back to you.
Very generous. Well, folks, that's a wrap on another episode of the Inspired Stories podcast. Thanks for learning with us today.